The smell hit him first. Not the antiseptic. Not the wet concrete. Not even the urine-soaked newspaper lining the cages. It was the smell of fear. Handler Sergeant Cole Matthews stood in the loading bay of Riverside County Kill Shelter, his calloused hands gripping a 40-pound bag of kibble like it weighed nothing. The December wind howled through the bay door behind him, but he didn't move, didn't flinch. The cold meant nothing to a man who'd spent 3 tours in the Hindu Kush Mountains, where the night air could freeze your breath mid-exhale. He was a statue carved from regret. 6'2", 215 pounds of controlled violence wrapped in a faded Marine Corps hoodie and cargo pants that had seen better wars. His beard was trimmed with military precision, not because he cared about appearance but because muscle memory dies hard. His eyes, though, his eyes told a different story. They were the color of storm clouds over Kandahar. Gray, empty, haunted. In his right cargo pocket, wrapped in an oil-stained bandana, sat a dog collar. Not just any collar. A tactical K9 collar, coyote brown, with a name stitched in desert tan thread. Titan. He touched it 17 times a day. Sometimes more. His therapist at the VA called it a grounding technique. Cole called it what it was. A prison he carried everywhere. You, Cole? The voice snapped him back. A woman in her mid-50s emerged from the shelter's interior, wiping her hands on a blood-stained apron. Her name tag read, Linda. Her eyes read, I've seen too much death. Yeah, Cole said. His voice was gravel and whiskey, though he hadn't touched a bottle in 3 years. Brought the food. Same as last month. Linda nodded, sizing him up the way shelter workers do, checking for the telltale signs. The twitchy hands. The darting eyes. The barely controlled rage of men who'd seen combat and couldn't quite make it back. But Cole was different. He was controlled, disciplined, dangerous in the way a coiled spring is dangerous. Not because it wants to snap, but because it's designed to. You're a saint, you know that? Linda said, motioning for him to follow her inside. Most folks donate online. Click a button, feel good, move on. You're the only one who shows up. Cole didn't respond. He followed her through the narrow corridor, past cages filled with pit bulls, German shepherds, and mutts whose only crime was being born at the wrong time in the wrong place. Their eyes followed him, pleading, hoping. He'd learned to stop looking. We got a new one yesterday, Linda said over her shoulder, her voice dropping to that tone people use when they're about to deliver bad news. Transport from a fighting ring bust in San Bernardino. 43 dogs. Most of them we could place with rescues. But this one. She stopped in front of the last cage in the back corner. The red zone. That's what shelters called it. The death row for dogs deemed too aggressive, too broken, too dangerous to save. Cole's entire body went rigid. Because there, behind chain link and shadow, was a ghost. Not his ghost, but close enough to tear open every scar he'd spent 5 years trying to close. A Belgian Malinois. 70 pounds of coiled muscle and trauma. Its coat was the color of burned caramel, matted with scars that told stories no dog should have to live. One ear was torn almost completely off. Its left eye was milky white, blind from some infection that had gone untreated for months. But it was the right eye that stopped Cole's heart. That eye was amber gold, sharp, intelligent, furious, the same color as Titan's. Cole's hand moved involuntarily to his pocket, to the collar. His fingers traced the stitching of that name like a rosary. Have you ever lost someone and spent every day since wondering if you could have saved them? The dog didn't bark. It didn't growl or lunge like the others. It just stared at him with that one good eye, unblinking, assessing, calculating. Been here 24 hours, Linda said quietly. Won't let anyone near him. Jimmy tried to get a leash on him this morning. Dog nearly took his hand off. He's scheduled for tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. Cole knew what that meant. Tomorrow morning, this dog would be walked down that hallway for the last time. A needle. A table. Silence. What's his name? Cole heard himself ask. Linda glanced at her clipboard. Intake form just says male. Approximate 4 to 5 years. Belgian Malinois mix. Aggressive/unadoptable. He doesn't have a name. Not anymore. Most people see a dangerous dog and walk away. But some of you watching right now, you see what Cole sees. You understand that some battles aren't visible. If you get it, if you've ever fought your own ghosts, subscribe now. Because what happens next? You need to see this. These are the stories no one else tells. Don't be the person who misses what courage really looks like. Cole stood there for a full minute. 60 seconds that felt like 60 hours. The dog never broke eye contact. Neither did he. I need to make a call, Cole finally said. Linda's eyebrows rose. You serious? How long can you give me? Cole, this dog is. How long? The authority in his voice was pure operator. The tone that had commanded men through firefights in Fallujah. Linda wasn't military, but she recognized the sound of someone who wasn't asking. 24 hours, she said. I can push the appointment to Friday morning. But if you can't, I'll be here Thursday night, 6 p.m. He turned and walked out before Linda could argue, before he could change his mind, before the rational part of his brain could override what his gut was screaming. In his truck, a beat-up Ford F-250 that had seen more deployments than most servicemen, Cole sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. The collar was in his lap now. He'd pulled it out without thinking. The leather was worn smooth from 5 years of touching. The metal D-ring still had desert sand embedded in the welding points. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister. Emily. Dinner Sunday? The kids miss their uncle. He stared at it. Didn't respond. Couldn't. How do you explain to your family that you can barely function around other humans? That the sound of a child's laughter sometimes triggers a flashback so violent you have to lock yourself in a bathroom until it passes? That you've become more comfortable with silence than conversation, with solitude than connection? What would you do if someone gave you one chance, just one, to fix your biggest regret? Cole started the engine. He had 24 hours to prepare for something he swore he'd never do again. Open his heart to something that could destroy him. The shelter was different at closing time. Quieter, darker. The daytime chaos of volunteers and potential adopters was gone, replaced by the hollow echo of animals who'd learned that nighttime meant loneliness. Cole arrived 13 minutes early. In the military, you weren't on time unless you were 15 minutes early. Some habits carved themselves so deep into your soul that civilian life couldn't erase them. Linda was waiting by the back door, a large kennel crate on a rolling cart beside her. Her expression was a mix of concern and curiosity. You sure about this? She asked. Not judgmental, just honest. Cole nodded. In his hands was a go bag he'd spent the last 24 hours preparing. Inside, a leather muzzle, a brake stick, thick welding gloves, a slip lead rated for 500 pounds of pull, first aid supplies, and something else. Something he'd kept locked in his closet for 5 years. Wrapped in plastic, never touched. Titan's favorite toy. A Kong filled with frozen peanut butter. I need 10 minutes alone with him, Cole said. No cameras. No interruptions. Cole, I can't. Linda. He looked at her directly. His eyes weren't pleading. They were simply stating a fact. This dog is dead tomorrow morning if I walk out of here without him. You know it. I know it. Give me 10 minutes. She studied his face. Whatever she saw there made her decision. 10 minutes. But if I hear anything, that sounds wrong. I'm calling animal control and the sheriff. Clear. Clear. Linda unlocked the red zone door and stepped aside. He's all yours. God help you both. The back room was smaller than Cole expected. Maybe 12 by 12 feet, with drain grates in the concrete floor and walls that had been scrubbed so many times the paint was more memory than pigment. The dog was in the corner, pressed against the junction of two walls where it could see all approaches. Tactical positioning. This wasn't some scared puppy. This was a survivor who'd learned that trust was weakness and hesitation was death. Cole set his bag down slowly, deliberately, every movement broadcast. I'm not a threat. I'm like you. He sat down on the floor. Not close. Not crowding. Just present. And then he did something that would have gotten him laughed out of any SEAL team briefing room. He started talking. My name is Cole, he said quietly. his voice barely above a whisper. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here because I see you, brother. The dog's good eye tracked him but didn't waver. Its body was coiled so tight that one wrong move, one sudden gesture would unleash violence. Cole knew that stance. He'd worn it himself for 3 years after coming home. You know what's funny? Cole continued, his voice steady. 5 years ago I had a partner. Best partner I've ever had. His name was Titan. Belgian Malinois just like you. Smart as hell. Brave as they come. We went through things together that would break most people. We were outside Mosul. 2019. Joint operation with Iraqi Special Forces. Intel said the building was clear. It wasn't. Cole's jaw tightened. This was the first time he'd said these words out loud since his debrief. Even his therapist hadn't gotten this story. But you're still here, aren't you? Still watching. Because you know this pain. You felt it. Subscribe if you understand what it means to carry someone else's death on your shoulders. Don't miss what happens next. This is where everything changes, and if you're not subscribed, you're going to regret it. Secondary IED. We didn't see it. By the time I realized what was happening, the blast threw me 20 feet into a wall. When I came to, my ears were bleeding, I couldn't see straight, and Titan, his voice cracked. Actually cracked. Titan was gone. The explosion opened a hole in the building. He fell through 3 stories down into a subsection that collapsed. My team pulled me out. We searched for 6 hours. 6 hours. Found nothing. No body. No tags. Nothing. The dog's posture shifted. Slightly. Almost imperceptibly. But Cole noticed. In the teams, you learn to read body language better than words. Body language didn't lie. They told me he was gone. Yeah. Gave me his posthumous commendation. Through a ceremony. Everyone said the right things. He died doing what he loved. He saved your life. He's a hero. Cole pulled the collar from his pocket. Held it up so the dog could see. But this isn't his collar. This is a replacement they gave me for the ceremony. Because they never found him. And you know what that means. The dog's ears, what was left of them, twitched forward. It means I left him. It means somewhere in that rubble my partner was calling for me, and I let them drag me away. It means I gave up. For the first time in 5 years, Cole felt tears on his face. Not sobbing. Not breaking. Just leaking. Like a dam with a crack finally giving way. I can't save him, Cole said, looking directly at the dog. But maybe I can save you. He reached into his bag and pulled out the Kong. 5 years frozen. He'd defrosted it that afternoon. The peanut butter was probably rancid. Didn't matter. He rolled it gently across the floor. It stopped 3 feet from the dog. The animal's eye fixed on it. Then back to Cole. Then back to the toy. Time stopped. The dog's nose twitched. Scenting. Analyzing. Then, moving with the caution of a soldier crossing a minefield, it stretched forward and grabbed the Kong. And for the first time since the shelter had rescued it, the dog's jaw loosened. It began to lick the peanut butter. Cole released a breath he didn't know he was holding. That's it, he whispered. It's okay. You're safe now. 20 minutes later, Linda opened the door to find Cole sitting with his back against the wall. The dog lying 5 feet away, Kong between its paws, watching him with that one amber eye. I'll be damned, Linda breathed. I need paperwork, Cole said. Adoption forms. Whatever you've got. And I need a vet reference. Someone who handles trauma cases. Cole, you understand what you're taking on? This dog is going to need months of rehabilitation. Maybe years. He might never be. I know. Linda studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I'll get the papers. In 15 years of doing this, I've seen maybe 3 people who could have reached that dog. You're the first who actually tried. I'm not trying to be a hero, Cole said quietly. I know. That's what makes you one. Sleep was a foreign concept. Cole had set up a space in his garage. Not quite inside, not quite outside. Neutral territory. A large crate with the door removed so it was a den. Not a cage. Blankets that smelled like nothing and no one. A water bowl. Food. The dog. He couldn't bring himself to name it yet. Naming meant attachment and attachment meant vulnerability. Had spent the first 3 hours circling the perimeter of the garage, checking every corner, every shadow, every possible threat vector. Cole understood. He'd done the same thing when he'd first moved into this house. Checked locks 17 times. Slept with a Glock under his pillow. Couldn't relax unless his back was to a wall. PTSD didn't discriminate between species. Now, at 2:17 a.m., Cole sat on the floor of his hallway, his back against the door that separated the garage from the house. On the other side, he could hear the dog's breathing. Rhythmic, controlled, the breathing of someone who never fully slept. He knew that rhythm intimately. His phone buzzed. Emily again. You okay? You didn't respond about Sunday. He typed, got a dog. Might need some time. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Cole, you got a dog. This is huge. The kids are going to flip. Bring him Sunday. Please. Cole stared at the message. His sister meant well. She always did. But she didn't understand that the distance between them wasn't geographical. It was existential. She lived in a world where Sunday dinners and children's laughter were normal. He lived in a world where the sound of a car backfiring could send him into a defensive crouch, scanning for threats that didn't exist. What would you sacrifice to feel normal again? To sit at a dinner table without checking exits? To hug your niece without flinching at unexpected touch? Comment below. What's your ghost? If you've ever felt like you don't belong in your own life anymore, you're not alone. Hit subscribe, this story is for you. Stories like this don't get told enough. And if you're not ready, tell me in the comments what's holding you back. We're building a community here of people who get it. A sound from the garage pulled his attention. Not aggressive, not scared, just a sound, a whimper. Cole stood and slowly opened the door. The dog was standing in the middle of the garage, its body trembling. Not from cold, from nightmare. Its good eye was wide, pupils dilated, staring at something only it could see. Hey, Cole said softly. Hey, it's okay. You're here. You're safe. The dog's head snapped toward him, and for a split second, Cole saw pure panic. The kind of panic that comes when you wake up and don't know if you're in your bed or back in the place that broke you. Cole had seen that look in the mirror 1,000 times. Without thinking, without the careful planning and tactical consideration that had kept him alive through 3 deployments, Cole sat down on the garage floor. Want to know a secret? He said quietly. The dog's ears swiveled toward his voice. I have nightmares too. Almost every night. Sometimes I'm back in Mosul. Sometimes I'm searching through rubble calling his name. Sometimes. He paused, swallowed hard. Sometimes I hear him barking, just out of sight, just out of reach, and I run toward the sound but I never find him. I never save him. The dog took 1 step forward, then another. They teach you a lot in the teams, Cole continued. How to shoot, how to swim, how to survive on nothing. But they don't teach you the important stuff. They don't teach you how to come home, how to be human again after you've had to become something else. Another step. They don't teach you how to forgive yourself. The dog was 3 feet away now, close enough that Cole could see the scars in detail, close enough to smell the shelter on its coat, close enough to be dangerous. Cole extended his hand, not reaching, not grabbing, just offering. I don't know if I can fix you, he whispered. I don't even know if I can fix myself. But maybe we don't have to be fixed. Maybe we just have to be less broken than we were yesterday. The dog's nose touched his fingertips. And Cole, Handler Sergeant Cole Matthews, United States Navy SEAL, retired, bearer of 3 Purple Hearts and more demons than decorations, started to cry. Not the silent leak from earlier. This was different. This was the sound of a dam finally breaking after 5 years of holding back an ocean. The dog pressed its scarred head against Cole's chest. And stayed there. They sat like that for an hour. Maybe more. Time lost meaning when you're in the presence of something sacred, and this was sacred. Two broken warriors finding each other in the darkness. When Cole finally stood, his legs were numb and his face was wet, but something fundamental had shifted. The weight he'd been carrying, that 50-pound ruck of guilt and shame and unprocessed grief, felt lighter. Not gone, never gone, but manageable. "Come on," he said softly. "Let's try something." He walked toward the door leading into the house. Stopped. Waited. The dog hesitated. Every instinct screaming trap, danger, vulnerability. But then it took one step. Then another. Then it crossed the threshold into Cole's home. Into safety. Cole set up a bed in the corner of his bedroom. Far enough away to not feel trapped. Close enough to not feel abandoned. The dog circled it 3 times before lying down, its back to the wall, good eye watching the door. Cole got into his own bed, leaving the lights on low, leaving the door open, leaving escape routes. "I'm going to call you Gunner," he said into the darkness. "If that's okay with you. It means someone who protects, someone who fights alongside you, someone who never gives up." The dog's ear twitched. Gunner it is. That night, for the first time in 5 years, Cole slept through until dawn. And when he woke, Gunner was lying beside his bed, keeping watch, protecting his new pack. Dr. Sarah Chun arrived at 10 a.m. sharp, her veterinary bag slung over one shoulder and a box of training treats in the other. She was 38, Chinese-American, and carried herself with the calm competence of someone who'd seen war and chose healing over hatred. "You're the SEAL," she said as Cole opened the door. "Not a question. Retired. No such thing. Once a SEAL, always a SEAL. Just like once a soldier, always a soldier." She extended her hand. "I deployed to Kandahar in 2012. Army vet tech. Saw some shit. Got out. Finished my DVM. And now I fix broken dogs with broken owners." Cole almost smiled. "Linda said you don't sugarcoat. Life's too short for bullshit." She looked past him into the house. "Where's my patient?" Gunner was in the living room, pressed against the far wall, watching them with that calculating amber eye. Sarah set down her bag slowly. Didn't approach. Didn't make eye contact. Just sat on the floor and opened the treat box. "Hey, buddy," she said conversationally. "I'm Sarah. I'm not going to touch you today. Not going to poke you or prod you or stick needles in you. I'm just going to sit here and tell you about my dog. His name was Scout. German Shepherd. Stepped on an IED in Helmand province and lost his back leg." Cole watched as Sarah talked. Calm. Steady. No pressure. This was more than veterinary medicine. This was therapy. "Scout was angry after it happened," Sarah continued. "Snapped at everyone. Wouldn't eat. Wouldn't train. Command wanted to put him down, said he was too damaged. But his handler, Sergeant Marcus Boyd, he refused. Spent 3 months rehabilitating him. Teaching him to trust again. Teaching him he was still valuable even though he was different." Gunner's posture relaxed infinitesimally. Marcus brought Scout home when he rotated out. They spent 8 more years together. Scout died last year. Peaceful. Happy. Surrounded by people who loved him. And you know what Marcus said at the end? She looked directly at Gunner. He said, "You saved me more than I saved you." Sarah tossed a treat toward Gunner. Not close enough to threaten. Just close enough to offer choice. Gunner looked at Cole. Cole nodded slightly. The dog stretched forward and took the treat. "Good," Sarah said. "That's real good. Now, Cole, let's talk about what you're actually doing here." They moved to the kitchen while Gunner stayed in the living room, still within sight but at a comfortable distance. "This dog has severe trauma," Sarah said bluntly. "Fighting rings don't just physically abuse dogs. They psychologically torture them. They starve them, beat them, force them to associate other dogs with violence and humans with pain. Rehabilitation takes months, sometimes years. And even then, some dogs never fully recover." "I know. Do you?" She studied him. "Because I need to know you're not using this dog as a proxy for your own guilt. I need to know you're prepared to do the work even when it's hard. Even when he regresses. Even when you're exhausted and frustrated and wondering why you're bothering." Cole met her eyes. 5 years ago, I left my partner in a collapsed building in Mosul. I've spent every day since carrying that weight. This dog isn't Titan. He's not a replacement. He's not a second chance. Then what is he? He's Gunnar. And he deserves someone who'll fight for him the way I wish someone had fought for Titan. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, then let's get to work. Progress wasn't linear. Some days, Gunnar would take treats from Cole's hand, would follow him around the yard, would even play for a few minutes with a tennis ball before the trauma caught up and he'd retreat to his corner. Other days, Gunnar would regress, would snap at shadows, would refuse to eat, would spend hours staring at the fence line like enemies were massing just beyond the wood. Cole understood. Recovery was a war of inches, not miles. He'd started running again. Not the punishing, self-destructive runs he'd done in the first years after discharge. Real runs. Morning 5-milers with Gunnar on a double-clipped leash. Both of them breathing hard. Both of them alive. He's bonding with you? Sarah said during her Tuesday visit. Watching Gunnar lie in the grass near Cole's feet. That's massive progress for a dog with his history. But Cole. What? You're bonding with him too, which is good. But I need to know you're seeing your own therapist. You can't pour from an empty cup. Cole didn't respond. He'd missed his last 3 VA appointments. Cole. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're functional. There's a difference. Before Cole could argue, his phone rang. Emily. He considered letting it go to voicemail, considered it hard, but Sarah was giving him that look therapists give when they know you're avoiding something. He answered. Hey, Em. Finally. I've been trying to reach you for days. Look, the kids made you something for your birthday next week and they're literally bouncing off the walls waiting to give it to you. Please tell me you'll come to dinner Sunday. Please. His birthday. He'd forgotten. Or more accurately, he'd tried to forget. 36 years old. How many of those years had he actually been alive, and how many had he just been surviving? I don't know if... Bring Gunnar, Emily interrupted. The kids are dying to meet him. And Cole? I miss my brother. The real one. Not the ghost who sends one-word texts and cancels plans. That landed like a punch. Have you ever had someone call you out so perfectly it hurts? Emily didn't know it, but she just forced Cole into the moment that would change everything. Stay with us, you need to see this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. What happens in the next 60 seconds will break you in the best way. Don't be the person who misses the moment that matters. Still on the fence? Comment come home if you know someone who needs to hear this story. Or tell me, what's keeping you from hitting that button? I genuinely want to know. Okay. Cole heard himself say. Sunday. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Emily confirmed, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Thank you, Cole. Really. After he hung up, Sarah was still watching him. That was brave, she said. That was stupid. No. Stupid would be staying isolated forever because it's safer. Brave is risking connection even when you're scared. Cole looked at Gunnar, who'd been listening to the entire conversation. You think he's ready for kids? I think the question is, are you ready for kids? Fair point. The panic hit Cole 3 blocks from his sister's house. Not a small flutter. Not butterflies. Full-blown, heart-racing, can't breathe, vision-tunneling panic that made him pull over and put the truck in park. His hands were shaking. His chest was tight. The rational part of his brain knew this was a panic attack. The reptile part was screaming, threat, danger, abort. In the passenger seat, Gunnar sensed it immediately. The dog stood up, pressed his head against Cole's arm, and began licking his hand. It was something Sarah had taught him. Dogs can sense cortisol levels in human sweat. Some dogs naturally ground people during panic attacks. Gunnar's doing it instinctively. Cole focused on the sensation, the rough tongue, the warm breath, the solid weight of another living being choosing to be present in his chaos. I can't do this, he whispered. I can't sit at that table and pretend I'm okay. I can't smile and eat pie and answer questions about my life when my life is held together with duct tape and spite. Gunnar whined. Not a scared whine. A question. Are you going to run? Or are you going to fight? Cole's phone buzzed. A text from his nephew, Jake, age 7. Uncle Cole, did you bring Gunner? MOM says you're almost here. 3 exclamation points. The currency of childhood excitement. When was the last time Cole had been excited about anything? When was the last time he'd let himself feel joy without immediately waiting for the other shoe to drop? What if healing isn't about becoming who you were before? What if it's about becoming someone new? He took a breath. Then another. Then he put the truck in drive. Emily's house was chaos incarnate. Jake and his sister Madison, age 9, exploded out the front door before Cole even finished parking. They stopped when they saw Gunner, stopped hard, eyes wide, but not with fear. With wonder. Whoa, Jake breathed. He's so cool. Why does he only have one working eye? Is he a pirate dog? Jake, Emily called from the doorway. What did we talk about? Right. Sorry. Jake looked at Cole seriously. Uncle Cole, may we please approach your dog slowly and calmly after asking permission? Despite everything. Despite the panic and the fear and the weight of 5 years, Cole smiled. Actually smiled. Yeah, buddy. But let him come to you. Don't reach for him. Okay? He's still learning that people are safe. Madison, who was quieter than her brother but twice as observant, crouched down and extended her hand the way Cole had taught them over FaceTime. Hi, Gunner. I'm Madison. You're very brave. Gunner, who 3 weeks ago couldn't be in the same room as strangers, took 2 steps forward and sniffed her hand, then licked it. Madison's face split into a grin so pure, so unguarded, that Cole felt something crack in his chest. The good kind of crack. The kind that lets light in. He likes me, Madison whispered, barely containing her excitement. Of course he does, Emily said, walking down the driveway. She pulled Cole into a hug before he could flinch away. You came. You actually came. Don't sound so shocked, Cole muttered. But he hugged her back. I'm not shocked. I'm grateful. She pulled back and looked him in the eye. I know this is hard for you. Thank you for trying. Dinner was supposed to be simple. Spaghetti, garlic bread, salad. But Emily, bless her heart, had also made chocolate cake, Cole's favorite, and the kids had decorated it with toy soldiers and a hand-drawn picture of a dog.